What's up, Dance Fam? Welcome to another episode of the session. We are back, and it's been a while actually since we've done one of these. And today we're going to be reviewing World of Dance Season 4, Episode 1. I'm your host, as always, Russ Santos, aka Lock and Robin. And with me, usually I have other people in the studio, but since we don't and we're all in lockdown, I have with me the two guys who did it last time. What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Hey,
doing good.
You guys can talk.
Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody.
We're all on lockdown here. Justin's even in California, so he's on all the way on the other side of the country. Eser and I are here in the DMV area. That's DC, Maryland, Virginia. And like I said, we're going to be doing or reviewing Season 1, or World of Dance Season 4, Episode 1. And man, it's been a while since we did this, guys, right?
Yeah. Gotta dust off the cobwebs.
Been a while.
Well, I guess it's been a while since World of Dance has been on. But anyway, how you guys doing? How are you guys doing?
I'm forgetting what day it is now.
Okay.
How
you guys holding up?
Theme. I'm
But
doing
not too
great.
bad either.
Working from home. Yeah.
All right, let's cut over to you then, Justin.
Working from home.
Justin,
Hey,
how's it going, man?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be back on DanceFam and able to do this with you guys again. I miss you guys.
Hey, we miss you too, man.
Miss you too, bro.
How's life been treating you out there in LA?
Oh, just barely leave the four corners of my house. That's pretty much it.
So we have plenty of time.
Social distancing is very important.
We have plenty of time for reviewing stuff. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Plenty of time for World of Dance. And as always, again, just like last time, we have Eser Valencia. How's it going, man?
How's it going? I'm good, man. Doing well. Working from home, can't complain. Keeping myself occupied with all my activities.
That's good. Like what?
Legos.
Legos, video games, exercising,
Rinse and
taking
repeat.
class once in a while.
Zoom classes.
That's great.
Right?
Zoom classes.
Yeah. That seems to be the name of the game nowadays. So it's kind of nice having World of Dance back on for us to watch. We're not, I guess, dancing ourselves as much as we usually can be, just because of this whole coronavirus issue, pandemic.
Yeah, we'll blame it on coronavirus.
That's what I'm doing. Oh man.
My
All right,
Sharona.
So let's jump right into this. World of Dance is back on NBC, Season 4, the first episode, and they're doing things a little different this time with the qualifiers, that is. I guess what the main thing is that before they had them all on the main stage already back in the previous seasons, and they just came on and then they tried to qualify there. They knew who they were performing for. They knew there was going to be an audience. They knew the judges were going to be there. But this time they're auditioning. They think they're auditioning for a bunch of producers, kind of like that last step before they get the go-ahead to be on the show. What they don't know is that this is the actual show, and what they're doing is actually auditioning for the qualifiers at this point in a warehouse. What do you guys think of that?
It's
You go ahead, Justin.
yeah. I think it was meant to test their awareness and their ability to cope under pressure, which is definitely that kind of pressure will bring out a different kind of performance. And I think that it's a interesting way to do it. Would I have chosen to do that, or as a producer? Not sure, but it makes for good TV. So it's kind of funny that the power went out during the auditions, which I thought was like, damn, that's crazy.
It's funny because like they could have edited that part out if they wanted to.
They could have, but I think they just wanted to put some realism to it.
Yeah.
Eser, what'd you think, man, of this format?
In all honesty, when I tuned in, I thought like, wait, is this filming during the corona pandemic right now? Because I feel like that's why they're so isolated, like everybody's separate, but they're still touching. So I don't know. That was my initial thought, but at the same time, like, oh, this is just like a new format. And definitely this was recorded way prior to the pandemic lockdown. So Yeah, it was definitely a new thing, and it does set a different tone when it's already like them and like faking out the performers. Like, oh, it's just gonna be a bunch of producers. So it definitely just tests their uh their own being. You know that these dancers are just like
Hmm.
there, or like, and then their mentality has to change so quickly because they know who they're performing in front of.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I like that like that initial shock or surprise of them walking into the studio and
Hmm.
seeing the judges for the first time. Like, oh, I guess we're doing this for you guys now instead of
I know,
like
for
instead of
right,
like just
for
a
real.
bunch of nobody producers. Not that they're nobodies, but
Hmm.
yeah, it was kind of funny. It was funny seeing the different types of reactions, like shock versus like inner anxiety kind of a type of
Yeah,
of a
absolutely.
of a reaction versus just excitement. So it's cool seeing that. That's probably the only aspect of this new format that I like personally.
Hmm.
Um, for me, because like now it just seems like any other talent show that's on TV now. Like there are three
Mm-hmm.
judges, they're on a stage, and
Yeah,
then they get move on to the next thing.
exactly.
So it kind of reminds me of like AGT, America's Got Talent, or American Idol or something. Uh, and like after the performers or the dancers performed, it just seemed dead to me. Versus like
Yeah.
when they were on stage for the qualifiers, they get like a huge audience reaction, whether it was fake or not. But at least it made me feel better for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to hear people like
Absolutely.
scream and shout for those performers and have some kind of reaction.
Yeah,
Whereas when
yeah,
people would
exactly,
end, it'd just be like, ta-da!
exactly. It's like because there was one performance where they were, I think it was the second act, Grvmnt, and like
Yeah.
they hit their last pose, their last move, and it's just
Yeah,
dead silence, and like
I know.
maybe
It's just
they
like
started to clap later. It's like,
you just feel so awkward
The
for them because,
breathing
like,
is what
you
got
know,
me. It was the breathing.
yeah, seriously, because like when you're in an audience, like that you feed off of that energy, and we've all been there. It's like as dancers, like we feed off of that to give us more like fuel to perform better and like more full out, and then like being in such a silent environment, just facing these three judges is just like really nerve wracking. It sets such a different tone when it's just complete silence and you're just listening to the music, and like you start questioning yourself when you're on stage.
yeah, absolutely. Another thing I liked about this, I'm not sure if they did it last season, but they grabbed the Instagram stories of like the dancers when they're doing it.
Oh yeah.
So you kind of see like their off stage personality versus their on stage personality. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah.
Whether it's like, hey, we're about to go on, we're really excited, da 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 da. Like it, I mean, it's still kind of on stage in that sense that you're still on camera, but it was just nice seeing a different side of the performers.
Hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Also, I like that Scott Evans actually got to interact with the dancers this time. Um,
Exactly. That's what you want from a host.
I feel like I think last season he was the host last season, but he might have been brought on a little late, so that he didn't get to interact with the dancers as much or at all. I don't think he really interacted with them. I think he was just on stage talking to the judges, introducing the
Yep.
next act or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still didn't really know who he was since I didn't really
Yeah,
Oh,
watch
I
I
don't
last
know
didn't
who
feel
he
season.
attached
is.
either. Yeah.
Oh, you mean back
I
then?
was expecting to see Jenna. Yeah, I was expecting to see Jenna Dewan again and hoping. We all know why. But
She's a great dancer.
she's a fantastic dancer.
she's a
And I
she's a
wish she was a
phenomenal
judge,
dancer.
to be honest.
Yeah, she mean, I think she guest judged last season, right? Am I imagining that?
Probably. Probably.
I forget.
I don't know.
I can't remember anymore.
It's so long ago. So many coronaviruses ago. Anyway,
One too many.
um, so
Anyways.
yeah, exactly, one too many. So before we jump into reviewing these dancers, what we're doing is for those who are new here or new to the channel, new to the podcast, new to the YouTube, new to the site, whatever. What we do here is we try to be as unbiased as possible when we do these reviews. Again, we obviously have a minor bias towards what we already know or what we already have experience with in terms of dance, but we try and be as objective and unbiased as possible when we give our opinions about this. And I cannot stress enough that these are just our opinions. It doesn't make us right. It doesn't make us wrong. It's just how we feel based on based on a lot of things. Our experience in dance in the dance community is one. Personal taste in art is another. General likes of music. I mean, just the same way how anything your environment affects your opinion and builds upon your opinion. Same for us. We're just sharing it. So we try and score these acts the same way that the judges on camera judge it, but again, based from a different point of view, from our point of view. So if you agree or disagree, go ahead and drop a comment, and hopefully we'll respond. So let's jump. Yeah,
Yep.
Let's jump right into this. First act, Jefferson Y Adrianita. You like that?
I love that name.
Well done.
So
I
beautiful.
love that.
That was
Eser,
really good, Russ.
Thank you. Eser, why don't you tell us what you thought about this couple?
Muy caliente.
Thank you. Great. So moving on.
No, but really, yeah, they started off very strong, holding that pose. She's upside down, and he's just like, do 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 do. Okay, we're ready.
That's the pose.
And yeah, that pose right there.
That's
and
the one.
Even the judges are just not ready for that. It's like, oh, what are we in store for? But yeah, like, I just love seeing powerful, duets. Especially with such great chemistry. And what's even more of a bonus is that they're already a married couple with a child. So
Right.
that really puts them so bonded very well together. And seeing that really showed, on stage, and they did what they did. It was just a lot of flair and very authentic.
Cool. Justin, what'd you think, man?
So my first thought watching them, I was like, this is totally similar, or not similar, but it reminded me of Karen E. Ricardo from, I think, a couple seasons ago.
Sure.
And one thing that I definitely have to comment on them that I thought set them apart was just the detail in their footwork. I know that J-Lo said that she wanted their footwork to be faster, and I was thinking, but then that would be off the music, one, and two, like, can you get faster than that? Like, the footwork was incredibly intricate and fast already. So that was kind of my observation on that. In terms of their tricks and things like that, I thought they were well placed and they fit well with the music. But there was a lot of the same tricks that I have seen with like previous acts of that style. I think they said it's called Coleño.
I don't know.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, well, I can go back and find out. But yeah, I thought they were fantastic. Incredible showmanship, definitely.
Yeah, I 100% agree with both of you so far. So they're listed as salsa, but just like saying a dance group is hip hop you really don't know what their style is, or there are different subsections and that whole other topic. And they're from Cali, Colombia, is where they're from. See what I thought about them, and this kind of goes to what you said, Justin, about having seen certain aspects of what they've done. I always get worried at least for this show, I get worried when I see a ballroom couple or a ballroom group come on, because I don't know. It's, in my opinion, I feel like they're so restricted to their style, and ballroom in itself is a very strict style. There's not, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like there isn't a lot of leeway to kind of go beyond. You know what I mean? And like it's finding that 5% that's left out there of figuring out how to be more creative and explosive at that point. So that's why it worries me, because like they can give one, two, three awesome performances, but then like you kind of it kind of gets repetitive at that point. And it's trying to find a new way to rewrite that book. But this is just a qualifier, and I thought they were great. Like they seemed effortless when it came to like their lifts and their tricks. And they had a lot of great moments for me. So, like you said, with their footwork, I thought they were fast enough because they were on beat, and I thought it was clean in my opinion. But I don't know what Jayla's talking about. But she might have more experience than me when it comes to ballroom because I have none. But I thought they were in sync. I mean, they're married, so it's like it's hard to say that they weren't clean. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's all I had to say about them. What else? You guys have anything else?
I think that it's so cute that they named their child after Derek. I hope that's like kind of. I hope that wasn't just for TV. But I mean, they seemed very starstruck when they saw Derek was there, and the opportunity to kind of dance with them a little bit was. I think that really made their day. So I like to think that they definitely did name their child after Derek.
It's funny. Like when he got up to like dance with them, I was like, man, it's only episode 1 and he's already dancing with a contestant. It's like, come on, man. Can we go like?
A lot.
Eser, well, I actually have a question for both of you. Do you guys do your critiques and take your notes before you hear what the judges have to say?
I'm usually writing them out as I'm watching the performance. So I generally try not to listen to them because I don't want them influencing me at all. But there are other times like when I'm like really captivated in the movement that I might just miss it and then hear something as I'm listening it to them.
Gotcha. Esther, I think your audio dropped out I want to say you definitely did drop out. Actually, hold on. Let me see here. Where did Esther go? There he is. Okay, there you go. Esther? Nope.
Hello.
There you go.
There he is.
Okay, cool. Ooh, technical difficulties.
How about you, Esther? Do you take your notes before you hear what the judges have to say?
Yes, I try to make it like a personal race before they get to them.
No.
But
so
at
you
the same time,
you don't pause it?
I mean, for this first episode, I watched it live, so I didn't have the opportunity to like pause it.
Gotcha.
But maybe in the future I will do that. I'll just wait for the episode to come out on like Hulu or something.
Right. Cool. So the judges gave. I was just wondering, so we could move forward, knowing that we judged not based on what the judges had to say, or we weren't influenced by what the judges had to say. But all three of them said yes for them to move on to duels, and I agree. How about you guys?
Yeah, I say the same.
Cool. So let's move on to the next act. Grvmnt, with a lack of vowels in their name. They are a hip-hop group from Vancouver, Canada. I think they're in the junior division, I want to say.
Yes, they are. They're in the junior division.
Let's see, who did we start with last time? Justin, let's start with you, man. What did you think?
Okay, so they were very clean. Their energy did fade at a certain point where I was like, I don't know if that was just the way they edited the video or maybe that's exactly what happened, but it's something that Derek ended up saying, which I definitely agreed with. I didn't really feel like there was a lot of variation in their style. It was very one note and very calculated in sense that it was choreography, trick, and then they would kind of fit their tricks in, which I thought were well placed, but it followed like a very systematic formula. And I definitely saw a lot of mouth singing, which always for
I know you hate that, man.
a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I know that's a kind of a thing for you.
It's I mean, you gotta have a thing sometimes, and that's just my thing that I definitely don't like. Because I mean, why? I don't need to hear you sing. I can't hear you singing. So why are you mouthing it? That's just a personal thing. But
Sure.
overall, I just was not very impressed with them. The one thing that was really great was that they were super clean and super together, and they have a very close knit bond that I could feel during their interviews as a group. Um, it felt genuine to me, so that seemed great.
Cool. Esther, what do you think, man?
There's a lot of things I did agree with Justin. They are clean for a group that's only been dancing for they mentioned they were dancing for 5 years together, but it did like take a standstill on their set. It did plateau for a bit, and I just was expecting a little like a zinger kind of moment, like some sort of climax, and then take us over. But I know maybe I don't know they're kind of holding back, but at the same time they were just under that pressure too. Like they just didn't know that it was going to be the three of the actual judges, so that they have like
Sure,
a
sure.
different set when they actually perform for the real judges. So, uh, but yeah, I was just hoping for and waiting for something else. So hopefully in the future, if they do go further, um, what else can they offer? You know.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think nerves definitely had a play in what they did. Although like they were clean for the most part. like
Mm-hmm.
I think I think for the whole part actually in terms of togetherness and being uniform. There's one or a couple of things that caught me. First, I'll go with the good. Like I said, they're clean. They had good levels, a lot of different levels in there. So I appreciate that. Using the other plane of existence.
Yep.
Um, and like in true to their name, they did have a lot of groovy parts. So they did add a few parts that were
Mm-hmm.
that were that were pretty groovy in my opinion. But there was one part I think somewhere towards the end where there was a they were doing flares towards the front of the
Mm-hmm.
group, but then like I think one of the kids in the middle did like a half flare while the other two did full flares. But like if you're in the middle, you gotta you gotta stick that whole thing, right? You gotta commit to that flare. If you can't do it, then that's a different story. But then that's one thing, and it's really minor. But like later, maybe like 2 seconds later, or a couple 8 counts later, that same guy in the middle did a trick, kind of like a front gainer, but he didn't stick it. So
Yeah,
I
I
was like,
saw that
I
shakiness.
wonder if like the nerves actually just got to him at that point, and you know, doing a big trick, kind of got to his head. Let's see if I can pull that up actually for you. So here's the flare. Look at the guy in the middle.
Yeah.
So he kind of
Yeah, definitely.
short
Yeah,
changes it. You
he
know what I
sure.
mean? For those on the podcast, we are kind of playing a little clip of it, so you should definitely watch it on our site or on YouTube or something. But then let's keep going with it and see how kind of got stuck there. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, those are the only things that I had wrong, other than or not wrong, that I kind of I thought were shaky. Other than what you guys already said, definitely dragged in the middle, and then some parts of it kind of felt a little too cheerleady for me, where they kind of stuck something or they play something,
All right. Yeah.
reset, and then they move on to the next thing. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys saw any of that. Did you?
I actually didn't catch that. It did seem like a very. I guess it was just the monotony of the pattern also, and it was just in the
Mm-hmm.
phase of the plateauing in the set already.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why I didn't catch it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
maybe.
that's kind of what I was commenting on with like the formulaic
Oh, gotcha, gotcha,
uh,
gotcha, gotcha.
process of their performance. So
I gotcha. So with the judges, they gave them on this is the group where they stuck that last move, and like there was no audience clapping. You just hear them breathing, and the
Hmm.
judges didn't even like start clapping right away. So it's like,
Yeah. Yikes.
it's not looking too good, guys. But I thought they were great. Like the judges Neo and Derek both called them back for another round for the callbacks, pretty much. And J Lo said yes to the duels, but since they didn't have two yeses, they're just going to be doing a callback, which I thought was right on par with probably
Mm-hmm.
what I would have done at least. So really good,
Yeah.
but just small stuff to work on.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Let's move on to the next group, or I guess couple. Jake and Chau. So they are a contemporary duo from San Jose, California. Um, I'll start off for them. There was one part, or right in their lead up, like I guess their little bit or whatever. It's funny, and this is nothing negative against them. Chau mentioned that, or when they were talking to the judges, Chau mentioned that they were excited because the world of dance is kind of like the Olympics for dance, for like their realm. And I was thinking in the back of my head, I was like, wait a minute, but breaking's gonna be in the Olympics for the
Yeah, it's gonna
summer,
be in the Olympics.
so aren't the Olympics for dance? and and not so much
You
world of
would
dance.
think of something like that.
Yeah,
It
we're
was
we're
just
waiting for 2024.
I was just nitpicking, but like I just thought it was funny. Before
Good
before
catch there.
before breaking got into the Olympics, then yeah, World of Dance, like that's the competition to be on, or even so that you could dance, whatever. But for groups, definitely World of Dance is like the competition, one of the competitions that you got to be on, and like to really prove yourself, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just that. Um, right off the bat, in terms of their performance, I think Jake felt a little shaky to me. Um, I don't know. He just seemed a little bit off, and I want to say it was just all because of his nerves. Like they got taken aback by the judges
Right,
being there,
right.
whatever and whatnot. So that's pretty much the only negative thing I had to say. Well, not negative. I guess critique is what I'm trying to say. What things I really did like, they had like an insta prop moment that I like to call. Is when there's no prop, but all of a sudden now there's a prop because Chow took off Jake's shirt and they used it from that
Yeah,
point on. And later on, that kind of had a bigger meaning when it came to their dance. So it's kind of like not something you automatically attach to, or you kind of feel like matters until they actually do it, until she actually rips off his shirt, and then they start playing around with it, and then you start to realize, oh, that meant something from the very beginning. And then if you watch it over again, it kind of changes how you feel moving forward about their piece. So I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
really cool. Um, Good chemistry, but again, like you could tell they're nervous, or at least Jake more so was. Just because like when the more athletic things that he did felt a little bit shaky to me.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I'm always just so very impressed by contemporary dancers and like how much control they have over their body and how flexible they are. It's kind of insane if you think about it. But that's just me. Esther, what'd you think, man?
yeah. I'm not sure, or I just wasn't very attentive to the part where they were saying how long they've been together. I know that they were mentioning they met at a dance convention, if I can recall. Correct me if
Mm-hmm.
I'm wrong.
Yep. Yep. You're right.
Uh, but yeah, so they were just naturally drawn toward each other because of like what she was doing, as Jake was mentioning at the convention. Being weird, and that's what gets people to get drawn to you, being the weirdo, and definitely
Sure.
always the good way. But it was such a beautiful performance just to watch throughout, and I'm always appreciative of the different dynamics being uh, drawn into this performance as well. And forever how long they've been performing together, I just appreciated the trust that they have. It was just so engaging as well. And I really enjoyed the choice of song that was matching with their movements as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like rhythmically in sync, you know.
Very nice, Justin. What'd you think, buddy?
I agree with both of you guys. I did notice the slight trip in the beginning. Um, and it was a good use of the shirt that came out of nowhere. Aside from that trip, I thought that a lot of their transitions were seamless. They would move very
Mm-hmm.
fluidically into those next movements, especially with like the lifts and them kind of threading. Him threading
Mm-hmm.
between her like extensions, her leg extensions, and all of that. And they did a really good job showing off how flexible and how strong she is. I want to see whether or not they do that with him in the future.
Good point.
I was enthralled. I love their performance, and I'm glad that Eser commented on how they met and how like she was just being weird and that like in cap like that made him want to go up to her. I love when those when people meet in such a serendipitous way, um, and then it becomes so much bigger than what they expected. You know,
Yeah, it's
that's
like when
just a
you
little
click,
side comment.
you click, and it's
Mhm.
working out for them because
Yeah.
it didn't seem like they were two strangers. It seemed
Hmm.
like they've danced for a while together, at least.
Yeah.
At least it's
To,
what it feels like.
yeah, and to be honest with you, I think they are the two. I mean, after the first episode, they're the two that I'm most excited to see progress through the show.
Mm. Let's see. I think now that I actually think about it, I think you're right. It wasn't the Williams fam that that you were excited about.
Ooh.
Before we get
I have,
there,
I have
um,
comments, but
the judges, all three judges gave them yeses to the duels to go straight to the duels, and I 100% agree with that. So that's exciting. We'll be seeing a lot more of them in the next few episodes. I guess. Well, I guess it depends how many qualifiers there are. I know for
I
some
have no
reason the
idea.
qualifiers just seem so long for us.
Wait, the first time we did this, it took 2 weeks or not 2 weeks, 14 weeks to get through the qualifier or something like that.
No, that's way too. 14 weeks. It's so long. I know it took at least six. I don't know.
Okay.
It seemed it seemed long, but anyway.
Yeah, and
Uh,
they weren't 2 hours each.
that's right. That's right.
This
It
was
was so
not
That's
two
long.
hours
why.
long.
It was so long, man. All right, let's move on to the Williams fam. A hip hop family, a bunch four brothers from where are they from? Vallejo, California. So, and, and right away I was like, man, I feel like I've seen these guys before. And
Yeah, me too.
the reason why I felt that way is because during their whole lead up, their whole bit, they mentioned that they're social media influencers, and I was like, yes, they are. I know exactly who they are now because I've definitely seen their stuff online, whether it was TikTok or whatever someone reposting whatever they did, and they're not bad dancers, you know,
No.
um,
Hmm.
just very social media oriented.
Hmm.
But anyway, I won't start this one. Esther, you can go ahead and start this one. What'd you think of that, man?
Yeah, it's always nice to see brothers doing stuff together. Um, but as much as I wanted to see them, press on, but like they were just at that point where it's just like they're just entertaining, and I kind of like whatever set they presented at last night, or whenever I watched it, I was just like, it is what it is, and I was just like, this is all they've got. I don't know how much further could they go because like they are kind of like stuck in that box of just being social media entertainers, influencers. But uh, I'm gonna give it to them. They wrote the music that of their choice very well. They were just very entertaining. Like I can't stop saying it, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of personality placed in there, and that's what I appreciated out of them too. Because that's how you stand out. But at the same time, they just had to find their niche of just meshing a competitive mindset with their personalities.
Gotcha, Justin. How about you, man?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. They are what I would have expected us to be if we joined World of Dance as a crew. Um,
True.
they're brothers. Like we're not necessarily blood brothers, but we act in that way all the time. Even on stage, we look like we're playing around. A lot of the stuff like transitions that they use stuff that I was like, oh man, we've definitely done stuff like that.
We definitely have.
Um, and now that we're not later in life, but like we're a little older now, and a
A
lot
little
of
more
their
seasoned.
movements seemed effort. Yeah, a little more seasoned. A lot of their movements seemed a little more effortless in the way that we put our movement out there now. Um, but the thing that I loved about them was just how entertaining they were. I wrote entertaining AF, and and they look
Stewart.
and they look like they're yeah, and they look like they were having tons of fun, and that goes such a long way with me. Maybe not for a competition like this, but I mean, again, great TV, and
Yeah,
in the long run, they've probably increased their social media base by a lot just from being on the
Sure.
show. So, win-win.
Yeah, yeah. I think anyone being on the show increased their social media uh, followers. And actually, now that we bring it up, I feel like that was like one of the things that that they made seem like a credential for dancers. Like whenever they had
hmm
like their bits, like, oh yeah, we've managed to accumulate um, a million followers within so and so time. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's just it. Just goes to show what kind of or like the day and age we live in nowadays. Um, but I agree for the most part with you guys. Like, it was definitely entertaining. Like, it was funny, and that was
hmm
it's something that I would enjoy. It's Neo said this too. You just so happened to say it, but when I wrote it down, it just so happened to be it's something that I would find very entertaining if I saw it on my phone, or
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
if I saw it on my computer or something. I would watch it, or probably share it, repost it, whatever. Um, but when you're on a stage like that against like the caliber of dancers who practice every day, go to take classes, train, whatnot. It doesn't match up well enough.
Mm-hmm.
For that matter, it kind of makes them seem way more amateur, like versus these other dancers. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
even the last act, Savannah, who's only 9 years old, who's been dancing for seven of those years. She seems way
Good
more
gosh.
like seasoned than these guys.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, it's not to say what they're doing isn't awesome, because it is. And like even Derek said it, like it's there's definitely a place for it, and it
Mm-hmm.
works. Again, like I loved it. Um, it's just not competitive enough for this.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, they got three no's to the judges, and I had to agree, or I have to agree, and I do agree. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Esther.
Oh, did you guys agree
Um,
with the judges? Is what I'm just asking.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I
100%.
actually had to give in to what the judges were saying as well, because if they were going to show this up on the actual main stage, like, it would have been for naught, you know. I didn't want to, you wouldn't want to do that to these kinds of guys, but I'll put them at a point where like their kind of like performance and their dancing personalities are very much needed out in the community. Like we don't see stuff like that as much before anymore. Well, at least in my eyes, a lot of people are just so serious with their dancing. Like we just need more of the fun.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Um, I guess I think if I had to give one critique, um, it would be that they needed more. They needed more moments. Like from, I think if I'm like trying to remember how it was, it just kind of seemed as like one long thought. I guess
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
There weren't
no
enough.
periods.
There wasn't a ride to it. There wasn't. There were no levels. There were levels, but there wasn't anything that made me feel anything different throughout the whole set. Is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that was that. Unfortunately, they won't be moving on. So let's move on to the next couple. It's Bailey and Kida. And Justin, you said you know. Well, Kida's from S rank, right?
No, Bailey's from S rank.
Oh, I thought you said Kida. I
Yeah,
feel like I've
Bailey's
seen
not.
Kida on the show before, or maybe I just seen her in
You've seen
videos.
Kida. Yeah, you've seen Kida on So You Think You Can Dance. He got pretty far, I think.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so
Yeah,
Bailey is from S rank, and they were on last season or 2 seasons ago.
2
I feel
seasons
like
ago,
it
I
was
think. What?
2 seasons ago.
I think well, anyway, it was sometime in a previous season. She was on S Rank. But they are a hip hop group or a couple from LA. I think they've danced together for all of like 4 weeks or something like that.
Couple weeks. They haven't been together very long.
Okay. So yeah, so they haven't been dancing long. And Justin, actually, you can start this one off. What do you think, man?
Yeah, there's I mean, definitely. I mean, they're both super young, but there is so much clout between the two of them already. Like they were listing off all of their dance credentials and things like that, and all the artists that they've worked with individually. And I mean, they're so accomplished and still so young. I think Bailey still isn't like 18. Like she's still like maybe like 17 or something like that. So to have that kind of resume between the two of them coming onto the show, I'm just like, man, you guys don't really need to be here, but it's cool that you are. um, Kida, I remember watching him a couple of times on. I think it was on So You Think You Can Dance, where I was like, man, this kid is special. Like he had a couple of performances with like Fiction, where I was like, okay, like
right.
They work really really well together. In terms of their dancing, the beat kill. I mean, they beat killed practically the whole time. Like
Yeah,
if you could
really
hear it
did.
in the music, you saw it in their movement, and I mean that's great. But they definitely lack that chemistry that the judges were saying. Like, which I hope, given the opportunity that they do to move on, they are able to find. So,
Right.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, the judges, care more about. I don't know. Maybe they care more about that cloud, or maybe they care more about the raw talent that they have over their chemistry. It seems like they did with these two.
Yeah, I mean they're very talented, so it's like.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't mess up, and there weren't too many negative things to their performance, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But Eser, what do you think,
I'd
man?
like to see. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Justin. Finish it up.
Yeah, I would like to see whether or not they are able to develop that chemistry and bring something completely different from what they did, because they showed how strong they can be. Now let's see if they can change that up and give us something completely on the other hand of what they've done already.
I agree. That'd be nice. Eser, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I have to agree with Justin's what he's saying also because I don't know. I wanted to like them as a duo, but at the same time, it looks like they were forcing their chemistry. It really did, and it just was like kind of awkward at the same time. Not that they weren't dancing together, like very similarly. Like, good for them. They're very good at what they do and very talented young dancers, influencers as well. Um, but not having danced for a longer period of time, this could cost them further on the competition should they go further. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like they're two individual minds with creative stances, so you're gonna have some sort of conflict somewhere along the way. That's kind of inevitable, but I just want to make sure that as good as they are, they have to be sure of each other, have that kind of not just respect but love for one another.
So you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head for this performance. Some things I did like. I mean, they were obviously super clean. Not the least bit dirty at all. Super. I mean, they were raw, and man, did they have isolations. But like, I felt like almost the whole thing was isolations in that aspect. What else? What else? They definitely had good control of their bodies. I mean, to to do those isolations that they did, you have to have that kind of control over your bodies. But some critiques I would have is that I feel like they focused, other than what you guys already said, I feel like they focused too much on internal movements, and that comes with like the type of isolations that they did. Not very large movements, but very small and subtle and more internal movements than anything. So, and that wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing, but I felt like they focused on it for maybe 80% of their whole performance. So, I don't know. It kind of got repetitive and a little bit monotonous to me. And that's the problem I have with a lot of performances in general is that, or a lot of sets for that matter, is that it kind of seems like one note versus, something that brings me somewhere else during that performance or that set. There was one part at the end where they kind of had like a surprise ending or a fake ending.
Yeah.
But I feel like it didn't pay off like at all because when they came back and continued dancing, kind of faking the ending, they just did some more isolation and small movements, and then they finally finished. I was like, okay, and that's about it, really. So unfortunately, I could have done without that, and they just needed to not be as repetitive as they were. But again, between the two of them, like you guys already said, like they are amazing dancers and super talented and very young. Very young right now to be where they are in terms of dance, like, and with what they've accomplished. Both have been backup dancers for a whole bunch of artists, right? I think they listed them off.
Yeah, they really did.
Big names.
Yeah,
super big names like Will Smith.
I'm like, wow, good for them.
Will Smith, of all people.
I know. It's like I didn't know he still performed.
Janet Jackson, guys.
I'm not gonna lie, I would love to be.
Yeah, Janet, man, come on.
That would be a lot.
Yeah, like you got Janet on your resume. You can't question that.
Yeah, but some very talented dancers. But you can definitely see how talented they are in their own right during this performance.
Mm-hmm.
So again, not dancing with each other, kind of just dancing at the same time together.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously they got 3 yeses and they're moving on straight to the duels, and I would 100% agree with that notion. And I know you guys gave percentages, or you guys scored percentages, but I feel like we don't need to do that for the qualifiers.
Not this time.
It's cool.
Yeah. It's okay.
Well,
it's all right.
It's good to have.
Yeah.
To see where you're at. To see your progression during this whole competition.
Exactly. Well, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
For me, I was just like, I'd put them through. Yeah. But for those who are watching or listening, when it comes to like the duels and any other round where they actually score based on a certain criteria, then we will then give our own scores based on the same criteria. So definitely tune back in when it comes to those duels and cuts, and I'm not sure what the other ones are called. But anyway, let's move on to the last performer.
Yeah.
The last but certainly not least performer, Savannah Manzel. A 9-year-old jazz dancer from Lake Elmo, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Justin, what'd you think about her, man?
Sorry. I'm glad you started with me because I'm gonna start off with a joke.
Perfect.
The mom was.
Here we go.
Yeah, I was waiting.
Was out there talking to her.
Oh boy.
The mom was out there talking to the daughter, telling her like, "You're gonna be performing in front of these producers," and hyping her up. So like in her mind, she's probably thinking, "Okay, I'm gonna do this great in front of the producers, right?" She walks out and has zero reaction to it being like J-Lo and Dick Pop and Neo.
Yeah.
So the first thing in my mind was me thinking, she was like, I don't even know who you are.
like Thanos.
Like Thanos.
You just got Thanos.
Yeah, that's how they edited it, and I was like, man, y'all could have at least made it look like she was excited to see them. But
I know.
They just didn't have the footage.
That was definitely an awkward moment.
While you do that, I'm gonna see if I can try and bring that up.
In any case, her dancing, such strong technique. She's only 9 years old. See, there you go. She's like, oh, these producers.
Yep,
there
she
you go.
is. He's like,
He's
hey.
like, oh, okay, anyway.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Exactly. seriously. Yeah. Again, her performance, strong technique. I thought the song choice was very interesting. Very, what you would see at like those um competition
Studio competitions.
dances. Yeah, studio competition dances. Uh, I thought. I mean, because I kind of grew up around that, not necessarily in that. But like my sister was competing and everything. It was very typical of what you would see those dancers do, and not to take away from how amazing she is, uh, because she's phenomenal, being 9 years old and having that much control over her body. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I want to see like what her range is now. So I think that she totally deserves to be, through to the next round. That ending, I've seen someone end their performance in that way. It's still just so alarming and amazing to see someone just I'm gonna flip and sit down and end like that. That's it. I think that's a fantastic move to
Yeah.
that's it.
Cool. Yeah, it's true. Eser, what'd you think, man?
Um, this little girl has been training since she was 2. That alone in itself is like, what have I done with my life at 2? 7 years and like you're 9 and you're like that kind of a professional demeanor already. It's just insane. And she must have great teachers too, just to be able to bring her up to that level and bring her in this place,
Right,
at this
right.
kind of level of competition. So props to those teachers and mentors, as well. She was fantastic, like such a cutie. This little girl was just kind of a powerhouse. Um, I was excited, like there's just this little girl wiping up the entire night, like she was probably the most exciting thing I saw the whole night. And yeah, excellent stage presence, and you know, I cannot wait to see what else she brings. It's just that good.
Yeah, definitely amazing. Like you guys have said it all. Um, the only thing, well, there are two things, I guess, but you guys kind of touched on it already. First of all, she's super athletic, and I don't know if it has to do with her being, 30 pounds or whatever, or however much she weighs, but she is super athletic for her age. And like,
Yeah,
there was like this one part where she lifts herself up from a sitting position to bring her body back over her head. You know what I mean? It was kind of insane that she could do that because I can barely do a push up, let alone get be sitting down and then just get on my arms and then just push the rest of my body up over my head and back
yeah,
around. You know what I mean?
for real though.
Um, but yeah, she's
I'm sorry,
very
that's really
athletic.
funny. Ladies and gentlemen, I've seen him do a push up. This is accurate.
I'm exaggerating, obviously, but maybe I'm not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see by the end of this pandemic. Well, it's hard enough to like, and like in locking, It's hard enough to come up from a jot split, but to be already down with no momentum to get yourself back up, it's just you're just relying on your whole. I think it's just your arm and even some upper body to get the rest of your body up and over yourself. You know what I mean?
That just takes her
That
incredible strength.
that was the thing I was most impressed by when it came to her performance. Just how athletic she is at her age.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just how much fun she was having during that whole set. And again, that kind of comes with the whole studio mentality and where you're trying to kind of train how you're trained to perform. But I believed her. She looked like she was having fun. And whenever she laughs, it's like adorable. So it's like I believe you. I believe you, Savannah. So I'm excited to see her, just like you guys, move on. And she will be, because she got 3 yeses from the judges. And I agree. And that brings us to the end of this episode. And I'm really excited that there are only like 6 or so acts per episode. We'll see if they keep going with this, and I hope they do, because the past few seasons I feel like episodes have dragged on, and
They really
you kind of get
have.
overwhelmed by acts. one thing I did notice, and I hope that they're not doing anymore, is that they didn't montage any acts. So they didn't like put a random act and just put a random act in there with no build up, and they kind of just cut around and just did a whole montage of them. So they gave, at least they gave, these acts their fair due. That's not to say that they're, exactly. That's not to say they won't be doing that in later episodes, and that's not to say that they just completely cut out a whole bunch of acts that we're not seeing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, any last thoughts for you guys?
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see some of those B-roll acts. I saw some things that I liked from the people we haven't seen yet, so hopefully we see some good stuff.
Any last thoughts for you, Eser?
Yeah, I'm just excited to see all those other acts that were in the backstage or holding area. But at the same time, I just hope it's not way too many that we're overwhelmed, and
sure,
just endlessly seeing other qualifier episodes.
I know, me too, man. I'm not looking forward to just endless episodes or endless acts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, endless amount of acts.
So that brings us to the end of this episode. I want to thank you guys for being on, during these crazy times through this call. And I want to thank for everyone who's listening or watching. Thank you for coming back. We'll be doing this every week, hopefully. You guys down to do this every week?
For sure.
I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah, we're not doing anything else while locked up.
Let me check my calendar real quick.
It seems like coronavirus is on the schedule. And roll the dance. So definitely guys come back. We'll try and have some different guests on too, now that we can, call some other people. Maybe we'll reach out to some well-known dancers. Definitely come back. Justin, man, thank you for coming back. Where can people find you, bro?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, Wonderfell88. Ooh, it feels so good to say that again. Wow.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And Eser, man, where can people find you?
You can find me on Asian Avenue and MySpace.
Sweet.
Yeah. But also check out my Instagram, Valcirca.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. And as always, I'm Russ Santos, and you can find me on Instagram and all those other types of social media. Oop, that's Eser again. Social media outlets like Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. At Lock and Robin, you can find me all there. Or leave a comment in this video, and we'll definitely respond to you. And try and be as polite as possible, because no one likes hate. Like, you know what I mean? But anyway, if you enjoy what we are doing here, and just want to talk more about dance, or just hear a different side of dance, or a different opinion about dance from other people, definitely come check us out again. You can find us on all the social media outlets out there, YouTube, our website, dancefamtv. What do you call it? Podcast, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Podchaser, anything you listen to a podcast on, we're there. Hashtag the session at DanceFamTV on anything else. We will see you guys next time, and we want to thank you for coming and listening, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.